The Highlands lie drowned in a cold grey mist, and Balmoral Castle does not feel like a holiday home tonight. It feels like a fortress built for verdicts. Inside its stone lungs the air is tight, the carpets swallow footsteps, and the portraits of dead monarchs seem to listen as father and son circle each other with words they have rehearsed for years. This is not a reunion and not a retreat. It is a reckoning. King Charles III has come here with the burden of a dynasty that bleeds confidence. Prince William has arrived with something harsher than advice, an ultimatum. The scandals are no longer background noise, they are the drumbeat under every conversation. The York mess refuses to die. Sarah Ferguson's messages to Jeffrey Epstein have detonated at the worst possible hour, and the question of what to do with Harry sits like a locked chest in the corner of every room, rattling whenever someone breathes. The Crown cannot share a table with disgrace and expect the country to forgive it. That is William's creed. And he intends to make it the rule of the reign. He came north after Southport with that creed in his pocket, the images of grief and resilience still printed on his face. The crowds wanted steadiness, wanted a monarchy that did not flinch. Moments later he was in the Aberdeen wind, jaw set like stone, heading straight for the castle that has always promised privacy and now offers only pressure. Last year they met like this, but the stakes were not sharp enough to cut. This year they could draw blood. The trigger is Ferguson. Her tone in those emails, described as loyal to a man the world remembers for predation, stunned even the jaded. 7 charities fled in days, proof that reputations can still drown quickly in a moral tide. Andrew's own disgrace, thought to be contained, began to leak again through every headline. The palace does not need enemies when it has this kind of family. William sees rot and calls it by its name. He believes compromise is cowardice, delay is deceit, and mercy is the spark that keeps scandal alive. His friends say he cannot bear the idea that an alleged sex offender once sat at a royal table and that anyone connected to that world might drift back toward the flame. Charles, older and aching with decades of guilt and duty, hears the same facts and feels something different: the pull of blood, the dread of cutting anyone off forever. He hates brutality. He is a gardener by temperament. He trims, he shapes, he hopes the plant will heal. But the garden has poison in its soil now, and William argues that you cannot prune poison, you burn it. The rooms whisper history at them. This family survived an abdication that could have broken a less stubborn house. It swallowed divorces, deaths, and tabloid witchcraft. But the most dangerous toxin has always been hypocrisy, telling the country that standards matter while privately making exceptions for relatives with damaging shadows. William is certain the public will not buy it again. Charles knows the public is merciless when it senses weakness. Balmoral is where that knowledge becomes policy or remains paralysis. They talk in long, exact circles. William's voice is low but hard. He lays out the order of operations as if writing on stone. 1. Andrew must be erased permanently, not half-hidden, not politely sidelined, erased. 2. Ferguson must be pushed entirely out of orbit. No courtesies, no quiet invitations, no seasonal forgiveness. 3. The Harry question must stop floating like a balloon that refuses to pop. Either there is a corridor back with conditions so strict they read like a contract with the nation, or there is no corridor at all. The country can live with severity, William says. It cannot live with wobble. Charles hears this and studies the fire as if it might answer. He thinks of the oath, of the late Queen's implacable calm, of the cost of every hard decision no one ever sees. He also thinks of pounds and headlines, of patronages and polling, of how quickly thunder gathers around silence. He knows what the charities did to Ferguson is a map of what the public will do to the crown if he dithers. They will walk. A monarchy without consent is a costume without a body. And yet he is a father. Fathers do not close doors easily. The pain is in the choosing. Outside, the moor is rain-soaked and patient. Inside, the hours lengthen. Staff say the trays come back cold. Aides wait in corridors and trade glances when the voices sharpen and then drop. The language is careful but the meaning is not. They revisit every recent humiliation because humiliation is the only thing that truly forces change here. Andrew's TV disaster. The legal ruins that followed. The photographs that still live online like stains that will not wash out. Ferguson's path of small combustions, money, misjudgment, the talent for harm without the intention. And then Harry, the interviews, the book, the repeated choice to weaponize confession and demand applause for the injury it caused. Each case is a wound. The question is which ones can be stitched, which ones must be cauterized. William sketches futures the way strategists draw war maps. If Andrew remains even faintly visible, every engagement becomes a referendum. If Ferguson appears near a royal doorway, every camera forgets the actual event and hunts the scandal. If Harry is welcomed back with a smile and nothing else, the credibility of standards collapses in a single afternoon. The alternative, he says, is painful but survivable: absence. Let disgrace starve in silence far from the frame. Fill the frame with work, with service, with a schedule that leaves no room for nostalgia tours of old mistakes. Make the crown feel like granite again. Charles asks the questions a father must ask. Is there no room for repair? Is there no value in the message of forgiveness? Will the country not respect a king who can show mercy without surrendering discipline? William gives him the answer the age demands: mercy without consequence is not mercy, it is marketing. The audience can smell it. They have learned that apologies are press releases and second chances are invitations to repeat the first sin. If there is to be reconciliation, he says, let it be hard-earned and barely visible, not a red carpet rolled out in the name of healing while trust bleeds to death in the comments section. They walk the grounds because conversation sits differently in open air. Charles remembers coming here as a boy, walls of green and quiet, the feeling that the monarchy was a mountain and he a climber. He has reached the summit at last and found that the mountain is weathered and needs repair bolts in the rock. William walks slightly ahead, not out of disrespect but out of momentum. He is the future, and the future does not like to slow down for the past. They stop by the river and say nothing for a long time, each man inside his own storm. When they return to the house, there is a calm that is not peace, it is the stillness that follows a decision no one wants to name out loud yet. Inside, aides are called. Notes are drafted with phrasing that sounds like velvet but cuts like wire. Courtiers discuss logistics that look dull in print and cruel in reality. Who will inform which offices, what security changes follow, which diaries are amended quietly in the night. Friendly newspapers are given lines to read between, unfriendly ones will guess correctly anyway. The country will not be told everything, but it will feel the shift. The York orbit will go dark. The invitations that used to arrive out of habit will stop arriving. The photographs that lure attention will not have a palace backdrop again. And if a path for Harry exists, it will be narrow, conditional, and designed less for reunion than for preventing further damage. Night gathers early this far north. The castle lights glow like a ship at sea, and the mist presses its face to the windows. Somewhere a dog barks, unaware that history is being negotiated 2 rooms away. William writes a short message to Kate that says little but means a lot. Charles sits alone after everyone leaves and reads the draft sentences again, measuring how much of himself he is about to spend to save the thing he wears. He thinks of his mother's lifetime of saying little and doing exactly what duty asked. He knows that duty is about to ask him to be colder than he wishes to be. By morning the plan is not yet public, but it exists, and that is enough to change the air. The household moves with new choreography. The phones are busier. The press office chooses verbs with surgical caution. Advisors argue over whether the word final should ever appear in a palace statement. Someone suggests firm. Someone else suggests full. Everyone understands that the country will translate whatever is written into the same headline, the axe fell. And for once, the translation will be correct. What happens next is simple in shape and complicated in feeling. Andrew will not return to public life. The door that was once politely left ajar closes until even politeness cannot pretend it is there. Ferguson's link to the crown becomes a memory kept by the tabloids and not by the court circular. Patronages rearrange themselves like constellations. No star is truly lost, but some are deliberately dimmed. The family will still be a family in private, but the monarchy will behave like a monarchy in public. That separation is not cruelty. It is survival. And Harry, here is the cruelest truth of Balmoral: every option is an injury. A path back would exist only on the terms of the institution, not on the terms of a memoir. It would look like work without cameras, presence without speeches, apology without applause. It would be narrow and easily closed. If no path is offered, then father and son will speak as families do, rarely, awkwardly, painfully, and the crown will absorb the bruise in exchange for clarity. Either way, the message to the country must be the same: standards first, even when it hurts. When the doors finally open and the cars drift down the drive, the Highlands will look the same as they did yesterday: wet, patient, ancient. But inside the institution something will have shifted toward steel. The monarchy will not look generous. It is not trying to. It is trying to look serious. The nation does not need a family with crowns, it needs a crown that can outlast a family's worst decisions. That is the gospel of Balmoral this year, written in fog and firelight and signed by two men who love each other and the same thing they are about to wound. So the castle waits, its stones keeping the secret until the phrasing is ready. Perhaps Andrew will fade without a final scene. Perhaps Ferguson will trade palaces for studios and call the exile reinvention. Perhaps Harry will hover at the edge of the frame, visible enough to sell headlines and invisible enough not to damage the brand that raised him. Or perhaps not. Perhaps the line is drawn so hard that even hope does not cross it. Whatever follows, the sense will be unmistakable. This was not a summer break but a battlefield where silence carried swords. The storm has arrived, the blade is bright, and the crown hangs perfectly still, daring the world to blink first.